Shalom, Shalom, Israel. First, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashima Mashiach Umarak Yahushua. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God, and Yahushua is the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Well, I want to give a strong Shalom to all the mighty men that's going out there laboring, putting their lives on the line for the Most High, standing 10 toes down and enduring everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High. Another strong shalom to all the mighty Aquath, right? The sisters that are at home, reverence to their husbands, being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire for the Most High in the households. And last but not least, I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty teenagers and children at home, doing all they can to magnify the name of the Most High and make their calling and election sure in the last days. And by the topic of this video is titled Revelation, the 9th chapter, and the Locusts, right? Revelation chapter 9, breakdown, and the Locusts. Because we have to go into these prophecies in the last days and rightly divide the word of truth, right? And I seen a video on Twitter literally like 4 days ago, right? And it had inspired me to make this video, man. And everything that you're seeing right now in the earth and the mayhem and the madness that's going on in the world that's kicking off, all of these things are a shadow of things to come. Just like what happened with the Russia and Ukraine situation. Yeah, that's happening over there right now, but soon that's to come to America. That's a shadow of things to come. The famine, the prices rising, all of those things, they're a shadow of things to come. So when I seen the video, and we're gonna bring the video out later on the lesson, I automatically thought of Revelation, the 9th chapter. And that's how you gotta be, man. You gotta be so in tune with these scriptures. Everything you think, everything you could see outside, whether it's inside or outside, you have to link it up with a precept. Because everything is spiritual. Everything has a precept to it. You could look at a horse outside, and guess what? You could link that up with the precept. Job 39 and 29, the horses have strength. You could see a snake out there. Guess what? You should get a precept. Proverbs 30, right, and 27 on down. The snake is crafty. Or Luke or Matthew chapter 10, right, in verse 16, when the Lord said, be wise as serpents and harmless as a dove. Because a serpent is equated with subtlety. So everything you see is a precept. And when I seen that video, I literally automatically thought about Revelation, the 9th chapter. Right? So with no further ado, we going to hop into the video and get the proper understanding of the Heavenly Father. Let's go to the book of Colossians. Right? Let's go to the book of Colossians. Right? It's the book of Colossians. It's like it. Why the camera is like this? Right? It's the book of Colossians, chapter 1, and verse number 26. All right, let's go to the book of Colossians, chapter 1. It's the book of Colossians, chapter 1, and verse number 26. It says, even the mystery which have been hid from ages and from generations, but now it is made manifest to his saints. So you have certain mysteries that's been hid for ages, man. At one point in time, men couldn't be able to break down Revelation, the 9th chapter, and what it's going into. But now the Lord has revealed that knowledge to his saints, and we got to properly, rightly divide the word of truth. Because these people, I've heard certain people, when they break down Revelation chapter 9, it was this one Edomite, he was breaking it down, and he said those are aliens coming out of the smoke, alien-like creatures. For one, it don't even say alien when you read Revelation, the 9th chapter. For two, it's not alien-like creatures, man. So these people, they can't break down the Bible. You got certain brothers saying this already happened. and putting specific dates on it. No, these are literally future prophecies that are to come to pass. So let's go to Revelation. All right, let's go to the book of Revelation. Right, Revelation chapter 8 and verse number 1. It's the book of Revelation chapter 8 and verse number 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of an half hour. So this is going into the seventh seal. Now, brothers and sisters would agree most definitely that we're not even in the seventh seal yet. Seventh seal hasn't happened yet. Reading on. And I saw 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. So right after the seals, then you will have the trumpets proceed, and the trumpets will come simultaneously with the vials. So of none of these trumpets that you read about from Revelation 8, 9, the latter end of 11, these things haven't happened yet. Neither have the vows happened. Revelation the 16th chapter, none of those things has happened yet. So for brothers to put a specific time and date on these things, hold on, brother, you can't do that. First of all, we not even past the 6th seal, neither the 7th or the 5th. So it's impossible for us to be in the time of the trumpets, or for the one of the trumpets. In Revelation the 9th chapter, that's the 5th trumpet. So if we not even nowhere near the first trumpet, how in the hell are we in how in the hell did the 5th trumpet happen already? So that's why we have to break these things down with the precepts and rightly divide the word of truth. So let's go to Revelation chapter 9. Right? Let's go to the book of Revelation. Chapter 9 and verse number 1. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 1. It says, and the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. Now when the 5th angel sounded, that's talking about the 5th trumpet. It says, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And that him is talking about an angel. An angel had the key to the bottomless pit. Now, for you to understand what the bottomless pit is, you have to know what is a pit. That's not talking about a deep ditch or a pothole that you have in the middle of your street, or a pit somewhere in your backyard. No, that pit is known as a landmass. When you see that word pit in the scriptures, a pit can be referred to as a landmass. Let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 5. Right, we're proving that a pit is a landmass in the scriptures. Let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 5. Right, 2nd Esdras, this is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 5, and verse number 24. It reads, 2nd Esdras 5 and 24. It says, and out and of all lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit. So out of all the lands in the earth, the Most High, he has chosen him one pit. What is that one pit? That's in this context, that's the land of Israel. But it said, out of all the lands, thou hast chosen thee one pit. That's just showing you that a pit could be referred to as a landmass. So when you read Revelation the 9th chapter, when it says he had the key to the bottomless pit, that means he had the key to a specific landmass. And we're going to find out when we read on. So let's go back to that in Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 1 again. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit. Now this bottomless pit is Europe. It's going into Europe, right? That's the bottomless pit. And World War III is going to be in the midst of that land. I'm going to read verse 2 again, right? It reads, Slucky. It says, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit. Now, why is a smoke arising out of this landmass? As the smoke of a great furnace. It says, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Now, why is a great smoke rising up from this specific landmass? That's because World War III and bombs and missiles are going to be dropping over there in the land of Europe during the time of World War III. A smoke is not coming up just because that's a hot land. Europe is a hot landmass. And the sun kind of beam on it and it gets too hot and it starts smoking like it's a piece of food. No, that's because the nations are going to be fighting over there in that landmass with nuclear warfare. And let's go to Genesis chapter 19. Right, we see the same instance when the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Right, let's go to the book of Revelation chapter 19 and verse number 24. Genesis chapter 19 and 24. Right, this is the book of Genesis chapter 19 and 24. It reads, then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. It says, and he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. So the Most High destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah via fire and brimstone. Reading on, it says, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain. Now this is after the fire and brimstone has got rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah and it overthrew other cities as well. It says, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. See that? So when we read in Revelation, the 9th chapter, how it's going to be smoke ascending up like the smoke of a furnace, that you can see that same instance in Genesis, the 19th chapter. Right? And that's with fire and brimstone raining down upon Sodom and Gomorrah. And it looked like, literally, it looked like the smoke of a furnace. See that? Let's go back to Revelation. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18. All right, let's go to the book of Revelation chapter 18. This is the book of Revelation chapter 18 and verse number 9. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her. Talking about these other nations living deliciously with America. It says, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So the Lord is telling you that Babylon is going to be literally burned. It's going to be on fire. Not because a man set it on fire. He poured gasoline. Some way, somehow, he found the way to pour gasoline upon all the land of America. And then he lighted it all on fire at once. No, it's going to be burning due to via nuclear warfare, hypersonic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, tactical missiles, via nuclear warheads. That's why this place is going to be burning, man. So you got to go through the precepts so you can get a visual of what's happening. Now let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 2 again, right? Revelation chapter 9 and 2. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Verse 3. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. Now, when it says, there came out of the smoke locusts, right, the truth is, These locusts, they're not actual, like an animal, actual, the insect locust. These are not literal locusts, right? Now, like I said, you know, I looked up certain breakdowns on this just to see what other people think, how these so-called professors break this down. People think these are actual locusts. Like I said, one man said it was an alien-like creature. I seen a video. It had a locust head on it with with an actual tail of a scorpion. Hey, when you read Revelation, everything is not literal in this book, man. Especially when you read Revelation. And that's why people, they have a hard time breaking these things down. Because things is not always literal. Let's go to Hosea chapter 12. Right? And that's, you know, even brothers in the truth, they get caught up on certain breakdowns, especially in Revelation, because they think it's literal. Everything, when you read the book of Revelation, everything in Revelation is not literal. We you know, we got to keep saying that. Let's go to Hosea chapter 12. All right, let's go to the book of Hosea chapter 12. It's the book of Hosea chapter 12 and verse number 10. All right, Hosea chapter 12 and verse number 10. It says, I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions, and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. So the Lord, he uses similitudes. And what are similitudes? Similitudes are things that are hard to be understood. Like a dark saying. The Lord uses dark sayings, riddles, allegories. And a dark saying is a saying that's really hidden. Like when Yahweh Shah said, a good example of a dark saying is when Yahweh Shah said, let the dead bury the dead. Now, when the Lord said that, you had actual people's, what do you mean let the dead bury the, how can a dead bury the dead? They both dead. But that's a dark saying. That's a saying, but it's really hid. Let the dead bury the dead. All that means is let the spiritually dead man, or these people in the world, take care of the dead. But follow thou me. So people can't understand dark sayings. But that's why the Lord has revealed the mystery to his saints in the last days. We just read that in Galatians 1:26. Let's go to the book of Galatians. Right? And the Bible supersedes. If I had a chance to go back, what was that? My sophomore year in high school. If I had a chance to go back to my sophomore year in high school, hey, I would kind of get into it with my English teacher. You know, we had to do poetry. Hey, the greatest poets ever are the men that wrote this book, man. Hey, King Solomon, he might have been one of the greatest poets of all time. People talk about Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, these top writers. Hey, but the greatest poetry book of all time is the Bible, man. Because it deals with so many similes, right? Metaphors, similitudes, allegories, dark sayings. Oh, riddles, man. So, hey, if I had a chance to go back to my teacher, hey, I kind of had some words for it. I kind of say break down this riddle. In Ezekiel 17, I want to know what she knows. You know, she good. She's an expert in riddles. I want to see if she can find out this riddle. Right, but let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. So when you break down these things in Revelation, sometimes things can be literal, but majority of the time, everything is not literal in Revelation. All right. So let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. Right? Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 3. It's the book of Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 3. It says, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. And we're going to prove that this is not literal locusts. Let's stay in the same chapter, but let's jump down to verse 11. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 11. It says, These locusts, talking about these locusts. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue, his name Apollyon. Now it said these locusts have an actual king over them. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 30. All right, let's go to the book of Proverbs chapter 30. It's the book of Proverbs chapter 30. And I want verse number 27. Proverbs chapter 30 and 27. It reads, Proverbs 30 and 27. It reads, the locusts have no king, yet go they forth all of them by bands. So we just read in Revelation chapter 9 and 11, these locusts in Revelation chapter 9 have a king. But the Lord said actual locusts, they don't have a king. Locusts, they don't have one ruler over. You see a swarm of locusts, they know they all on one accord. They all moving together. So the Lord said real locusts, hey, they don't have a king. But these locusts in Revelation, the 9th chapter, they have a king. So this is how we know these are not actual locusts, and we gonna find out what the locusts are going into. It's not going into an alien-like creature, like the Edomite said. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. Right? Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 4. It says, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So these locusts, they were commanded not to hurt the grass of the earth. And that's how we know these are not actual locusts. Because real locusts, they actually eat grass. You know, you could kind of look that up on Google. Hey, let's go to Exodus chapter 7. Even the locusts in Exodus, it's like that's not Exodus 7, that's Exodus chapter 9, I believe. It's like Exodus chapter 10. Right? Let's go to Exodus chapter 10 and verse number 12. Exodus chapter 10 and verse number 12. A real locust, they eat grass, man. But the locusts in Revelation, the 9th chapter, they're commanded not to hurt the grass, nor any green thing, nor any green tree. It said, this Exodus chapter 10 and verse number 12. It's the book of Exodus chapter 10 and verse number 12. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come upon the land of Egypt and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail have left. See that? So actual locusts, they eat herbs. They eat grass and the trees. But why is these locusts in Revelation, the 9th chapter, why are they commanded not to hurt anything, nor the green herb or grass? Why? Because it's not literal. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. And when you read Revelation, the 9th chapter, Revelation, the 8th chapter, Revelation, the 16th chapter, you see some similarities between the plagues of ancient Egypt and the plagues or the vows and the trumpets that you read about in Revelation 16, Revelation 8, Revelation 9. But those plagues that happened to the Egyptians, those was literal, man. You literally, the water turned into blood. Literally during the time of the Egyptians, and the Most High sent that hail mingled with fire. And the Lord literally gave the Egyptians a grievous sword. And the Most High literally sent locusts. But when you read Revelation, the 16th chapter, the 9th chapter, and the 8th chapter, those are not literal. Those is going into a parabolic way of things to come, and we're going to get into that. Let's go to the book of 2nd Edges, chapter 15. All right, 2nd Edges, chapter 15. This is the book of 2nd Edges, chapter 15, and verse number 11. It reads, "But I will bring them out with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof." So the Lord is going to destroy America and this earth with plagues as before. What are those plagues as before? The same plagues in ancient Egypt. But these plagues the Lord is going to smite Egypt with it all over again. These are not literal plagues that the Lord smote the Egyptians with. And as we keep reading, we're going to break everything down and get to understand. That's why the Lord said in Psalms 119 and 104, through thy precepts I get understand. Therefore I hate every false way. So let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 4. It's the book of Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 4. "And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth." Now we got to stop right here. Is that a literal commandment to not hurt the grass of the earth? The Most High said, "Hey, hold on, Locusts. Don't hurt the grass." We just read in Exodus chapter 10 that the locusts literally eat grass and the herbs. What are the grass that it's talking about? In the Bible, you're going to find out that grass in certain contexts can be referred to as men. Let's go to it. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 40. Right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, and verse number 7. Right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, and verse number 7. I'm going to start at verse 6. "The voice said, Cry, and he said, What shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass." So that's plain, man. People in the Bible, men in the Bible could refer to as grass. So when the Lord said, "Hurt not the grass," he's really saying, hurt not the inhabitants of the land. Don't hurt the people yet. Let's get another precept on the grass. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 90. Right? Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 90, and verse number 5. Psalms 90 and 5. "Thou carriest them away as with a flood. They are asleep." Talking about man. And you can let's start at verse 3 for the context. Psalms chapter 90 and 3. "Thou turnest man to destruction, and sayest, Return, ye children of men." So it's talking about man. "For 1,000 years in thy sight are as but of yesterday, when it is past, and as a watch in the night. Thou carriest them away as a flood. They are as a sleep in the morning. They are like grass which groweth up." So man is like grass which groweth up. And over time, you mow your lawn every now and then. That's how man is. Because man gets chopped down every day in the land of the living. Man withereth away. Certain men, they might prosper. Next thing you know, they wither slowly away. So that's how the Lord is comparing man to the grass of the earth. So let's go back to Revelation. Right. Let's go back to the book of Revelation. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse number 4 again. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 4. "And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth," meaning the men of the earth, "neither any green thing, neither any tree." Right? Because men are referred to as trees as well. Stop just thinking man is referred to as the waters. You get that same precept in Revelation 17 and 15, and you think man is just waters, that's it. No, men are compared to a lot of things in the Bible. Men are referred to as beasts by men's foolish actions and their ignorance. Men are referred to as grass. Men are also referred to as trees. Let's go to the classic. Right? Let's go to the book of Mark, chapter 8. Right? This is the book of Mark, chapter 8, and verse number 24. I'm going to start at verse 23. Mark 8 and 23. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes and put his hands upon him, he asked if he saw aught. So the Lord actually healed this man. Doing this miracle, he spit on his hands and rubbed it on his eyes. It says, and he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. So men is referred to the trees that you see outside. And even the Lord said, let's go to Luke chapter 13. Right? Because you as a tree, if you don't bear fruit, the Lord will cut you down. Let's go to that in Luke chapter 13. It's the book of Luke chapter 13 and verse number 6. He spake also this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came and sought fruit thereon, and found none. Then said he unto the dresser of the vineyard, Behold, these 3 years I come to seeking fruit on this fig tree. And man is referred to as fig tree. And men got to bring forth good fruit. Renewing, and the fruit is the works. Renewing, it says, and find none, cut it down. Why cumbereth the ground? Meaning, take this man out the truth. Why? Because he's taking up space. He's not bringing forth fruit. He's sitting at home with his feet kicked up on the couch, on a recliner seat, rubbing his head. So take this man out, man. It reads, and he answering and said unto him, Lord, let it alone this year, till I shall dig about it and dung it. And that's y'all see how it shall having mercy on it. It says, and if it bear fruit, well, and if not, then after that thou shalt cut it down. So the Lord is cutting down trees every day, meaning certain men are getting cut out and rooted out of the land of the living and going back into the world. So let's go back to let's go to Psalms chapter 1. Let's get some more precepts on men being trees. That's the book of Psalms chapter 1 and verse number 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So a righteous man, he's going to constantly be thinking about the oracles of the Most High. So what, he's at his job. He might have just worked a 16-hour shift. A man in the spirit, he's going to be thinking about the laws of the Most High. Verse 3, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season, and his leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So the Lord said he shall be like a tree planted by rivers of living water. Let's go to Psalms chapter 92. Right, Psalms chapter 92 and verse number 12. This is the book of Psalms chapter 92 and verse number 12. It says, the righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. So, it's pretty much plain, but we giving these precepts so brothers could build up their arsenal when it comes to breaking certain things down. All right, let's get one more. All right. Go to the book of Job, chapter 29. All right, Job chapter 29 and 119. Job chapter 29 and 19. It reads, my root was spread out by the water, and the dew laid all night upon my branch. So Job compared himself to a tree. He said, my root was spread out by the waters. The waters is this truth, the living waters. It says, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. What is the dew? The dew is the wisdom. Just like you would have the dew outside already on the ground. It cannot even rain, but you got that dew out there. That's the wisdom, according to Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter, 2nd verse. So men are referred to as trees, man. And men are referred to as grass. So let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. It's the book of Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 4. It says, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree. So these locusts, they commanded not to hurt those things. It says what? But only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So these locusts, which are really, we're going to go into it, these are not actual locusts again. But these locusts, they commanded to hurt the men that don't have the seal of the Most High in their foreheads. Again, this is how we know these are not actual locusts. Let's go to the book of Ephesians chapter 1 and 13. What does it mean by the men which not have the seal of God in their foreheads? Let's go to it. It's the book of Ephesians chapter 1 and 13. It's the book of Ephesians chapter 1 and verse number 13. It reads, in whom ye also trusted, after that ye heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, in whom also after that ye believed, ye were sealed with that Holy Spirit of promise. So certain men, they sealed with the Holy Spirit of promise. The elect are going to be sealed. So these locusts, they commanded to hurt anybody that don't got the seal of the Most High in their forehead. Meaning if you're not the elect, these locusts, they're going to destroy you. Let's go to the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2. Right? 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse number 19. 2 Timothy 2 and 19. Right? Salakia. Second Timothy chapter 2 and 19. It reads, nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure, having this seal, the Lord knoweth them that are his, and let every one that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity. So the Most High, he got certain men there sealed. And the Lord knows who is on his side. The Lord, he knows who the elect is. He knows those men that's already sealed. Like the elect, when you read Revelation, the 14th chapter, they have the seal of God in their foreheads. So let's go back to Revelation chapter 9 and 4. Right? Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth. We went over what that was. Neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So if you're not the elect, these locusts are going to destroy you. And we proved that these are not literal locusts. So what are these locusts? These locusts are the war helicopters that's going to be used in World War III. I'm going to say it again. These locusts are going to be these locusts are the World War III helicopters that's going to be used, or the war helicopters that's going to be used in the Third World War. Now, you might be like, well, why didn't it just say that in the Bible? Well, you gotta remember that Saint John the Divine, he didn't know what a war helicopter was. When was Revelation? Revelation was written from 90 to 96 AD. During the time of 90 to 96 AD, you didn't have helicopters, man. So John, he didn't, when he's seeing his vision, the best way he could describe it is as a locust. And we're going to pull up some images through the spirit, right? Don't expect John to know what that was, right? John called this a locust, right? That's what John seen. But like I said, you know, John doesn't know how to describe this. He's describing it the best way he can as a locust. And as we read on, we're going to know why these are the war helicopters used in World War III. Because they have similarities. We're going to read on. So Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. See that? So I'm going to read it again. Revelation chapter 9 and 5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. Now, like I said, certain brothers, they'll take this and they'll run with it. And then they'll say, oh, this happened in 19 so-and-so. Brother, that's not what it's talking about. You can't put a specific date, time, and hour on something that hasn't even happened yet. It's literally impossible. So what does it mean by 5 months? Are these a literal 5 months? We went over the grass. That's not literal grass. We went over the trees. Hey, that's neither a literal tree as well. We went over the seal of God in certain men's foreheads. That's not literal. All of a sudden, when we get to 5 months, that's literal. No, what does the number 5 mean in the Bible? Because the Most High, he deals with numerology. Right? The Lord deals with spiritual numbers. What does the number 5 mean on a spiritual level? We're going to find out. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 19. All right, Isaiah chapter 19 and verse number 18. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 19 and verse number 18. And that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. Now this is a future prophecy. Are 5 cities literally going to speak the language of Canaan? Right, the Lord going to pick out certain cities. He might pick out Chicago or LA and DC. No, a 5 just means a whole amount. Just like 3. 3 is a spiritual number. It can mean completion or emphasis. The number 5 just means a whole amount or a portion set to the side or a portion. Right? Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25 and verse number 1. It says, Matthew chapter 25 and verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 of them were foolish. Meaning a portion of these men, they were wise men. And then another portion of these men, they were fools. So you're seeing that spiritual number 5 being intimate. It's a portion or a whole amount. So when you go back to Revelation chapter 9, let's go back to it. Revelation chapter 9 and 5 again. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. Now we know that that's not literal. We could proceed to read on. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. Now, why did God say The torment of these locusts was as a torment of a scorpion when he dies, when he strikes a man. Because anybody that would know or have got stung by a scorpion, or you could look this up as well, when you get struck by a scorpion, you don't immediately die. You know how a gunshot, you might get hit by a gunshot, you might die immediately. You get hit in the head. When you get hit, when you get stung by a scorpion, you don't immediately die, man. You might get a boil on it. It might start swelling up. You might have to go to the hospital, etc. That's why the Lord said, I'm gonna read it again. It says, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when there striketh as a man. Meaning these war helicopters, they're really sent on a deeper level when you read on to torment men. Just like us. When you on a deeper level, when you think about it, we can't just destroy all the Edomites. We just destroy them on sight and just kill them immediately. You know, what kind of fun would that be? Esau didn't just kill us all off in 1619. No, Esau, he tormented us. He watched us get, and you had certain Edomites, they would take the male in front of that whole family and rape them in front of their daughter, their mom, and their children. They humiliated us. They tormented us. They did torture tactics. They'd dunk our head underneath water. And they'll play hit the nigger baby with a ball, with a baseball. So Esau, he literally he didn't kill us off all, right? He could have did that, but he watched us get tormented and torture us. That's how the Lord is gonna do with these plagues. Men, they not gonna die immediately. No, the Lord want to have you die slowly so you can feel what you have done. So we're going to read verse 6. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 6. It says, and in those days men shall seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Now what does that mean? In those days men shall seek death. Meaning, when these trumpets is let loose, certain men, they're going to take the easy way out. They're not going to want to feel this pain. Right? They're not going to want to go through this. They want the easy. They might want to get a gun and just end it all right now. You got certain men, they do that. You got certain Edomites, they don't want to catch hell. They don't want to go through affliction. So they grab the revolver and they just blow their brains out so they don't have to deal with that pain. So men are going to seek death in those days. But guess what? It says, and shall not find it. Meaning the Lord going to reserve certain men for destruction. You got to go through this. And that's scary when you think about it. Here you have you trying to blow your brains out. You see all the plagues of the Most High happening. You trying to kill yourself. But the gun it don't have no bullets in it. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 8. All right, let's go to the book of Jeremiah. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 8, and verse number 3. Jeremiah, chapter 8, and verse number 3. And death shall be chosen rather than life by all the residue of them that remain in this evil family, which remain in all places whither I have driven them, said the Lord of hosts. So certain men, they gonna want to die, man. Imagine going through a famine. You think people really want to starve and just listen to their stomach growl all day and go days without water or food? No, certain men, they're gonna say, you know what, I can't deal with this, and they want to take the easy way out. They might hang themselves. They might get into a fight on purpose with a crocodile and get tore alive. They might drown themselves in the water. So men are gonna seek death, but the Lord is gonna reserve them until for lack of better terms, a torment to destruction. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. That's what it's going into. I believe I heard somebody break that down and try to put a date on that. Right? But Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 7. It's the book of Revelation chapter 9 And verse number 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto the horses prepared unto battle. And like I said, these locusts, they're going into the war helicopters used in World War III. It says the shapes of the locusts were like unto the horses prepared into battle. And we say World War III because, you know, certain brothers, they'll say this happened in World War II, World War One. But when you analyze the attributes of these locusts, like the crowns of men, the hair that it has, the tails of scorpions, those weren't on the World War One or World War II helicopters. So therefore, you know, it can't fit the prophecy. It says, and the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto the battle. All right, let's pull up a visual of that. Right? Let's pull up a visual of that. Right? This is what John is seeing. Right? This is a decent video. Right? So like it, bear with me. Right? This is what John is seeing. They were prepared into battle. Right? You see in the locusts. And they even sound like locusts too. Right? See that? Like horses prepared into the battle. See that? That's what John is seeing, but John can't really he can't really describe what he's seeing, man. Like I said, you know, those actually sound like locusts. Let's pull up a locust swarm. Look at that. These are actual locusts. So you see the comparison, right? That's a mean swarm.
That they must move. But when the condition has happened, for at this stage they're...
Let me see if I pull up another one. Right? So you see the similarities of what John is trying to describe. Right. I believe those Hamites was getting plagued by that too. So let's read this again in Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto the battle. Let's go to the book of Judah, chapter 2. Right? Judah chapter 2. This is the book of Judah chapter 2 and verse number 19. Judah 2 and 19. Then he went forth in all his power to go before King Nebuchadnezzar in the voyage, and to cover all the face of the earth westward with their chariots and horsemen and chosen footmen. So this is Nebuchadnezzar coming to conquer the different nations around him. It says, verse 20, A great multitude also of sundry countries came with them, like locusts, and like the sand of the earth, for the multitude was without number. And during the time of the fifth seal kicking off, you're gonna have so many war helicopters going on. It's gonna be literally like that swarm of locusts we just seen. Hey, you're gonna have helicopters going, literally preparing us to battle. I said it's not talking about World War I or World War II. Because when we read on, it's gonna get in depth. And even when you look up, let me see, right? And horses have strength. But even when you look up let's look up a World War I helicopter. You know, it don't really kind of, you know, let's look up a World War I helicopter. Okay, so this is what they got pulling up. Right? I mean, it don't kind of really look like, I mean, it don't really look more like a Locust than the modern day helicopters. You know, so, you know, look at that. Those are the World War I helicopters. So it's not talking about that. But let's read on. All right. It's the book of Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And the horses have strength. Like I say in Job chapter 39 and 29. Hast thou given the horse strength? Why? Because horses, they're equated with strength and power. It says, and on their heads were as it were the crowns like gold. Now, what are the crowns like gold that it's talking about? Or the locusts. It said the locusts got like crowns like gold. The crowns like gold, that's talking about the helmets of the men that's in the helicopters. And these war helicopters. All right, let's see if we can pull up a picture. All right, that's going into the crown or the helmet that these men have in these war helicopters. And that's an excellent picture. Look at this. You see that? So you have the war helicopter, but as we zoom in, you get to see, you get to see that helmet. Now, John, he's seeing this, and he's like, man, these men have crowns of gold on their head. That's going into the helmets that these men have on. Right? You see if I could. Yeah, that's a mean picture. You can see these men in there. Right? So that's what John is describing. Read on. It says, Revelation chapter 9 and 7. It says, and the shapes of the locusts were like unto the horses prepared unto the battle. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold. And their faces were as the faces of men. Why? Because it's men controlling these war helicopters. And we literally just pulled that up. That's why John, you can't take this literal. John, he's actually seeing it, and he said these are like the faces of men. Why? Because it's men controlling these war helicopters. So I don't see how this could be an alien-like creature. Like the professor said when he was breaking this down. He said Revelation the 9th chapter, those locusts, those are actually alien-like creatures. So you don't, you're not going to drift off. But let's read on. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 8. It says, and they had hair as the hair of women. Now, what are the hair of women? We got to break everything down. Let's pull up a picture again. The hair of the woman is talking about is the propeller. Look at that. Right? So you see the You see the propeller that they got on. John said that's like the hair of an Eve. Because when that, the propeller is going, Eve kind of, shake her head. You see the similarities. Look at that. So that hair of woman that it's talking about, that's talking about the propeller. Right, let me see if I can find a better one. All right. Well, let's read on. It says, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. Are these actual teeth of a lion? And they put them on a helicopter. What are the teeth of lion? Right, the teeth of lion is going into their strength. Because your teeth, that's your strength, according to the Bible. Let's go to that in Psalms chapter 58. So the teeth is going into the military might of these helicopters. Because the teeth is your strength, your might. Let's go to Psalms chapter 58. Psalm chapter 58 and verse 6. Break their teeth, O Yahweh, and their mouth. Break out the teeth of the young lions, O Lord. What are the teeth of the young lions? That's their strength. David said, break out the teeth of the lions, O Yahweh. Break their teeth. Meaning what? Break their strength. Let's go to the book of Psalms. Chapter 57 and verse 4. It says, my soul is among lions, and I lie even among them that are set on fire, even the sons of men, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue a sharp sword. See that? So David said, even the sons of men, they teeth is like sharp arrows and spears. And you use all of that in warfare. It will be chiefly ancient warfare, but the modern day warfare, people not using bow and arrows no more when they go to war. Ask those men in Russia, are they using bow and arrows? They might laugh at you. No, they using RPGs, tanks, stealth helicopters, hypersonic missiles, AK-47s, M13s, M16s, a carbine rifle. They're using all of these military warfare. So that's the teeth that is going into. Let's go back to Revelation. Chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 9. Right, it's the book of Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 9. It says, and they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. Now, the breastplates of iron that's going into the sheet that's actually on a war helicopter. Because everything is modern. I said, this not talking about the World War I helicopters. Let's pull up a World War I helicopter. Right? For one, where is the helmet at? It said it had helmet, it had crowns of gold. Where are the crowns of gold in this at? Somebody would have to break that down. For two, where are the breastplates of iron at? Right? Where's the breastplate of iron at on this? Let's look up a World War II helicopter. Hey, steel, man. It's not what it's going into. The breastplates of iron, that's going into the different aluminum and metals that's on the outside of the helicopter to make it bulletproof, to make it indestructible, to basically give it some protection on the outside. Right? Let's see if we can pull up a picture. Now, brothers can see this, you can actually see the metals on this helicopter, right? Literally, or you could pull up a picture on your phone. It don't matter, but you actually see the metals that's on here when you deeply analyze this. So those are the breastplates of iron. Those not literal breastplates, right? So let's read on. Revelation 9:9. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings as the sound of chariots of many horses run into battle. See that? Reading on. And that's the back of the helicopter. It says, verse 10, and they had tails like unto scorpions, and were the teeth, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. Now, when it says they had tails like scorpion, let's pull up a scorpion tail. Let's pull up a picture of a scorpion tail. Scorpion tail. Oh, here you have it. See that? You see how a scorpion tail is? Look at a picture of a scorpion tail. What also does a scorpion tail resemble? Right? You see this scorpion tail? You see how it kind of come up in the back? Right? Let me see if I get another one. Look at that. It said these locusts got tails like scorpions. The tails of the scorpions, that's going into the back of the helicopter. Right? Where it shoots out actual missiles. Let's go to that. Let's pull up. See that? Look at that. Tails of the scorpion. Hold on, look at that. Look at the back of this helicopter. You can't tell me that don't look like a tail of a scorpion. Right? Let me see if I can get it. Look at this. That looks exactly like the tail of a scorpion. It might not curl up like a scorpion's tail, but hey, that's pretty dang close. So again, this is what John is seeing, man. And these could shoot, these, you got chopper gunners in the back of the tails now on these helicopters. Right? And let's pull up a video. And this video is what inspired me to do this, to do a breakdown of Revelation chapter 9. Let's go to it. It says it had tails like scorpions, and there were stings in their tails. What are the stings in his tails, man? Let's see if I can put this up. That's talking about the missiles, the chopper gunners on the back, and on this helicopter. Like I said, it's not talking about the World War I helicopter. And what's crazy is this is in Russia. This what happened 4 days ago with Russia and Ukraine. So this helicopter was actually shooting missiles out of it. You can see the missiles coming out of the helicopter.
На попасную, нате вам, второй.
See that? So you can't make this up, man. Oh, like I said, a World War II helicopter cannot do that. It don't fit everything that's going into the prophecy. See that? So let's read on. Revelation chapter 10, Revelation chapter 9 and verse 10 again. And they had tails like unto scorpions. It reads, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And we went over that number 5. It says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. What does it mean they had a king over them? Right? Meaning what? I'm going to read it again. It says, it says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. Meaning it's a spirit that's over them. Because angels, they're the spirits of the Lord. I'll tell you that in Psalms chapter 104 and verse 4. It says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name is in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name Apollyon. Now, what does Abaddon mean in the Hebrew? You gotta look these things up, man. So when you go into these prophecies and these breakdowns, you have to look certain things up. Let's pull up Abaddon in the Blue Letter Bible. Right? And that's going into the spirit. It's a spirit on the left-hand side, literally for destruction. Right? That's what Abaddon is, the spirit of destruction. Also known in the Greek tongue as Apollyon. It's a Pacific spirit on the left-hand side, but it's actually the spirit of destruction. It's Abaddon. Right? So Abaddon, see that? When you look into the Strong's info, it says Abaddon, of Hebrew origin, a destroying angel. Can't make that up. So Abaddon means in the Hebrew, hey, that's a destroying angel. So not every angel is like Michael the Archangel, or Raphael, or Gabriel. You have angels on the left-hand side who have different positions they play. It says destruction. That's plain. Abaddon in the Hebrew, the spirit of destruction. Let's go to the book of 2 Chronicles. Right? Let's go to the book of 2 Chronicles. Chapter 18. And I want verse number 18. Right? It's 2 Chronicles chapter 18 and 18. And he said, therefore, hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting upon his throne. And this is Micaiah having a vision of the third heaven. It says, I saw the Lord sitting upon his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing on his right and on his left hand, on his left. See that? So in the third heaven, you had the Most High on his throne, and on his left and on his right hand, you have nothing but spirits. You have spirits on his right hand side, which are righteous spirits, but you also have spirits on the left hand side. So everything is, you have different spirits. Reading on verse 19. And the Lord said, who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one spake after him this manner, and another saying after that manner. And there came out a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And this is not the first account of this happening. This actually happens every day. Every time a man wants to lie, create a false doctrine, doing evil, you just lying to your wife say, where are you at? You really being a whoremonger. But you said, I was with the boys. I was with the camp. I was with the camp. But, we had a guys' night out. Brother, you lying, man. And that's really all the spirit. It says, and one spake saying after this manner, and another saying after that manner. Then came out a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, Thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail and go out and do even so. So you have different spirits on the left hand side. The spirit of destruction. You got the spirit of jealousy. When you read Numbers, the 5th chapter, you got a lion spirit. So you have evil spirits. Not every spirit is lovely or delicate. Let's get one more precept on that. That's a whole nother breakdown for another day, but we'll get one more precept on that. Let's go to the book of Judges, chapter 9. So while you sitting there telling your wife you with the guys out and you with the camp, and you know when you really commit adultery and being a whoremonger, brother, that's a spirit sent on you from the third heaven, causing you to lie to your wife. But people, they don't understand that. They say this Bible was written by a so-called white man, so they not gonna get it. Well, let's go to Judges chapter 9. It's Judges chapter 9 and verse number 23. Then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech. See that? So the Lord, he sends out evil spirits every day. And when you read Revelation, the 9th chapter, the Lord sent a chief spirit on the left-hand side called Abaddon in the Hebrew tongue, but in the Greek, Apollyon, which is also known as the spirit of destruction. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. Right? Let's go back to the book of Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 11. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue, his name Apollyon. And this spirit of destruction was leading these men to World War III, to the battle. Not to World War III, but to fight against each other in World War III. Let's get a quick precept and an example of that. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 10. 2 Maccabees chapter 10 and verse number 8. It's like in verse number 28. The 2 Maccabees chapter 10 and 28. It says, Now the sun being newly risen, they joined both together, the one part having, together with their virtue, their refuge also unto the Lord, for a pledge of their success and victory. So this is talking about Judas Maccabees going out to battle. It says, the other side making rage their leader of the battle. It's like it says, together with their virtue, the refuge also unto the Lord, for a pledge of success and victory. So one, Judas Maccabees, he had the Lord leading them to the battle. And the Lord was leading Judas Maccabees to the battle. But guess what was leading the enemy? It says, the other side making their rage leader of their battle. So while Judas Maccabees made the Lord the leader of the battle, the other nation, the heathen, they made the spirit of rage and anger lead them to the battle. So what's actually going on is the Most High, he's having the spirit of destruction lead these men to fight against each other in World War III. But let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. Right, this Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 12. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 12. It says, one woe is past, and here there come two woes more hereafter. And woe is just a destruction. That's not talking about, certain brothers, they get tripped up on that. Woe just means destruction. It says, verse 13, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, So the sixth trumpet is sounded. Verse 14, saying to the sixth angel, which hath the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. So when his sixth trumpet goes off, the Lord is going to loose the angels that are bound in the great river Euphrates. Now, that don't mean these angels are bound because they sin. Certain people, they'll make a doctrine and say, you know what, these angels, they in a great river Euphrates because they went off against the Most High, and the Lord bound them there. No, the angels, first of all, angels can't sin. Angels, they keep the commandments of the Most High. Let's get a precept on that. You got certain men saying the angels going up. I believe we talked to a pastor that said the angels went off, and the fallen angels, they did a revolt against the Most High, and the Lord kicked them out of heaven and sent them to the earth. You know, that's not in the Bible. Let's go to Psalm chapter 120. Right? Psalm chapter 120. So, like, yeah, I believe that's Psalm chapter, let me see. Psalm chapter 103 and verse 20. Salaki. Or this the book of Psalms, chapter 103 and verse number 20. Bless the Lord, ye his angels that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. So angels are not sinning against the Most High's commandment. When you read Job, the 2nd chapter, even Satan has to present himself to the Lord. So, you know, that's, you know, quick cuts to the fallen angels doctrine. You can link that up with 2nd Esdras, chapter 8 and 20 as well. The angels tremble before the Most High. But let's go back to Revelation chapter 9. Those angels were just bound in that region. That's what it's going into. I'm going to read it again. Revelation chapter 9 and 14. Saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels, which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Meaning the Lord is going to loose those spirits that was in that region, causing those men to stir up for battle. That's all it's saying. Those angels, they was just in that region. The Lord appointed them there. Reading on verse 15. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. Now, when it says for an hour, a day, a month, a year, that's not literal. Like I said, certain brothers, they add up, they calculate this. Okay, a month. Man, it's okay. It said 5 months here. Matter of fact, no, that got to be going into this. No, brother. When it says an hour, let me see, an hour, a day, and a month, and a year, that's just a set of point. Everything has a set of point time to happen. It's a specific time for this everything to go down. That's why it says for to slay the third part of men. And the third part of men, that's not literally 3 men. These angels, they killing 3 men. You know, as we went over the number 5, you know, the number 5 is a spiritual number. The number 3 is a spiritual number as well. 3 could either mean completion or 3 can mean emphasis. Let's go to quick precepts, right? Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Let's go to the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse number 8. It's the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse number 8. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that it might depart from me. So Paul had a thorn in his flesh when you read 2 Corinthians the 12th chapter, and he besought the Lord thrice that it should depart, meaning a complete amount with emphasis that Paul wanted this spirit to get off of. But it was not so. You know, Paul had to kind of deal with it. All right, let's get one quick precept on that. Let's go to John chapter 21. John chapter 21 and 15. So when they had dined, Yahushua said, Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my lambs. Verse 16, he said unto him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He said unto him, Feed my sheep. And he said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahushua said unto him, Feed my sheep. Right? So that third time, that's going into a time, that third part of men is going into a complete amount of men being destroyed and killed. All right, let's go back to it. Right? It's the book of Revelation, chapter 9, 15. And the four angels were loosed, which prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. Hey, 200,000, that's like 2 million, man. Like 2 billion prepared for the battle. It says, verse 17, and thus I saw the horses in a vision. So this lets you know that John is just seeing a vision. Again, this is not literal, man. He's all seeing a vision, but he's describing things that he don't have the words to describe it. So he's using locusts. He's using a horse. He's using the crowns of gold. The faces like men. The hair as a woman. Because on a deeper level, this is all a vision. It says, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jackson, and of brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Now, when it says the heads, it's like it. And them that sat on having breastplates of fire, and of jackson, and of brimstone, we went over the breastplates. The heads of the horses was as heads of lions. Now, these are actually going into the nuclear warheads that's on these helicopters. Right? And out of their mouths issue fire and smoke and brimstone. And let's see if we can pull that up. Right? It's like, let me see if I can pull this up. Because, hey, when a missile takes off, it kind of sounds like a lion. Right? Let's see if we can play this.
Feels weird. Picking it up. The legacy of that shield.
Right? It said it had heads like the heads of, it made the noise as a lion. Heads of lions. Why will you hear? You gotta listen closely though.
Systems are go. We're about 90 seconds from the launch of Space Shuttle Discovery. Spring 2. We have a go for
See that animal? Let me see.
Control. 12, 11. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery.
Like it. I gotta get another video. They kind of, in the background laughing. Hey, you see that? You hear it kind of sound like a lion when he roars. And this just a space shuttle. Let me see if I could pull up a let me see. This is a so-called cruise missile. Hold on. They don't play the sound in that.
10, 9, 8, 7.
Nah, that's not a... It's like it. Bear with me. I'm trying to find this. All right, this for example. See that? Right, so it kind of sounds like a lion. That's why it says as it had mouths as a lion. I'm gonna read that again. Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 17. And thus I saw the horses in a vision, and them that sat there on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacket and brimstone, and the heads of horses were as the heads of lions. Right, going into the nuclear missile. Okay, this says Aklu missile. Let me see if I can put this up. It's like it don't have sound. I thought I had a video pulled up. Well, that's all right. Or you could look it up. But when it says, and the out of their mouth issue, whereas heads of horses were as the heads of lions, again, you know, that's talking about the missiles taking off. It actually sounds like a lion. We just pulled it up. It says, and out of their mouths issue fire and smoke and brimstone. Let's go to the book of Amos, chapter 3. Right. Let's go to the book of Amos. It's the book of Amos, chapter 3, and verse number 8. It says, Amos chapter 3 and verse 8. It says, the lion have roared, who would not fear? The Lord God have spoken, who can but prophesy? So, hey, when an actual lion roars in a jungle, people are going to get scared. You have certain birds, they fly away. Certain monkeys, they kind of creep out somewhere and they go hide in a tree. Hey, when these missiles take off, like a sound of a lion, you don't think people going to be scared? Hey, so you got certain men that, hey, they might die for fear. Let's go reading on. It reads, well, that's it on that. Let's go to the book of Joel, chapter 2. Joel chapter 2 and verse number 3. It says, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. That's why when you seen on this video, so like, let me put this up. You seen on this video, you see the fire that's going behind it. You know, all of this stuff you could read in the scriptures. Right? You see, it's like it. You see the fire going behind it.
9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Launch.
See that? And that's an actual cruise missile. That's an actual Tomahawk cruise missile. But yet the Bible is fake. It's written by a so-called white man. See that? Yet, hold on. First, you got men saying it's written by, hey, that's written by a so-called white man. White man. Hey, you had this Jake, right? He used to come up and he used to say, he used to have his glasses on. Right? We used to call him the mega coon. He used to have his glasses on. He said, he came up like that. He said, who wrote that Bible? And after we had just explained it to her like 50 times, He said a white man wrote that Bible. Who wrote that Bible? Brother, a white man didn't write the Bible. Man, when you read Revelation, the 9th chapter, and you link it up through the Spirit, it's impossible. How can somebody how can a Edomite just go into and break everything down like this? Or just write something like this? It's literally impossible. So, hey man, you can't make this up, right? Right? Somebody said John did a pretty good job explaining what he saw for the first time, period. It was, yeah. Hey man, hey, John did the best that he could. We can't really get on. You got certain men they getting on John, and they slamming a Bible on the table, saying, "Why didn't you say war helicopter in there?" Hey brother, hey, John did the best that he could. So we're gonna read on Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 18. It says, "By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issue out of their mouth." And you see the smoke that was behind this cruise missile, right? It's like it. You see the smoke that was behind this cruise, and these are gonna be on the helicopters. You see, right? Let me see if I can pull up a better one. Let me pull up this other video. This what John. These are gonna be the These gonna be the locusts with the tails like the scorpions, with the mouths of lions. Again, this just happened 4 days ago in Russia. So, hey man, you can't make this up. This just happened 4 days ago in Russia. So everything that you're seeing is a shadow of things to come. And though you just seen that helicopter was just shooting out missiles. So let's read on in Revelation. Let's finish this out. Revelation chapter 9 and 19. "For their power is in their mouth and in their tails." So the real power in those locusts is actually in the tails. In the tails, we went over that the tails is gonna have it's like your chopper gunners, missiles. The power is in these nuclear warheads and in these missiles. It says, "For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads." What are the heads? "And with them they do hurt." Let's get a picture of these heads. Right? Right. It's like, bear with me. Let me pull up this picture. See that? You can't make this up, man. Look at that. Right, look at that. This are on the helicopter. Right? You have the nuclear warheads, the missiles, and these helicopters, man. Right? Oh snap! Look at that. See that? Can't make this up. But yet the white man wrote the Bible. Let me see. Hey, dang. Esau got some stuff. So reading on. Revelation chapter 19 and 19 again. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents that had heads. And we just pulled up those heads. That's going into the head of the missile. And with them they do hurt. Meaning with this type of warfare, you could do a lot of damage. You could destroy a whole city with just 4 helicopters with missiles on it. You could take the whole city down. Reading on verse 20. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the work. See that? Look at. I'm gonna read that again. Revelation chapter 9 and 20. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands. So certain men, they're gonna be seeing people getting destroyed with these helicopters, with these locusts. But guess what? They still not gonna repent. That should show you that everybody's not gonna make it. Stop trying to break down Deuteronomy 28:68 to your mom, man. This is the 50th time you done broke it down to her, and you tried to break it down to your grandma, but they still not getting it. But you still want to break it down. Certain people, even during the time of the 5th trumpet, they still not gonna repent of their works. They're not gonna come into the truth. They're not gonna get it. Reading on, it says, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, and idols of gold, and silver, and brass, and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murderers, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. See that? So people, they still not gonna get it. You got certain brothers, when they go out and teach on the highways and byways, they stress themselves out. And a certain brother, he got mad. He was angry, like he wanted to fight. He said, man, these jakes not getting it. Brother, everybody's not gonna get it. Certain men, they're not gonna repent, man. But with that, we giving all honor and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Umarak Yahushua. Lord willing, this video is edifying through the Spirit. Continue to read, pray, fast, and study. And most importantly, beseech the Heavenly Father for His mercy. And with that, I'm going to say Shalom.